And you said that you were sort of preparing. Just explain that more.
Well, it was just I went through some bad time there because sometimes the guards change, and every guard that brings in like a new rule. So we had some trouble in the prison with some of the Asian guys. And I got into a series of fights that I actually was removed from the building. I'd been in the same building for 16 years, and I was quite an influential person. I was like the room chief. I was in charge of the foreigners, and I was actually removed from the building because of the violence that transpired the one Saturday. I was moved to another building, and I lost a lot of my things, especially my art supplies. So from being in a position of power, I was moved to another building where I was like a guest. So when I arrived there, it was a very humbling experience for me because although the guys had known me by my reputation, I wasn't really very friendly with most of the guys. And I was like a guest there, and I didn't realize it at the time. So I stayed in another building for about 4 or 5 months. And then one morning, in the early hours of the morning, I was extracted from my cell by a special unit of also black uniformed guys.
What, were you sleeping? Did they come walk in while you were sleeping?
Yeah, it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was the only guy removed. I had no idea what was going on. They said they called my name, and I said yeah. And they said, okay, you're changing prison, and they had weapons and that, so I couldn't really do anything, and I wasn't allowed to take anything with me.
And what went through your mind? What did you think was happening?
I didn't know actually what was going on, but I mean, I suspected that it was because of maybe the fighting that we had in the other building. Anyway, I was moved to a punishment prison, which is about 300 kilometers outside Bangkok. It was terrible there. I mean, I didn't have a blanket, a bed, or nothing. I slept on the concrete floor. I managed, fortunately, to get a message to my sister to contact the embassy. The South African embassy intervened. And after 4 days, I was moved to another prison. I wasn't taken back to Bangkok, which was my original prison. I was taken to another prison where I was thrown into solitary confinement for 6 months.
Solitary confinement,
yeah,
Shani.
And I wrote a request asking, like, why am I here? And they said that I'd been classified as dangerous, and I was suspected of dealing drugs in the prison and of having a cell phone, which wasn't true. I had nothing to do with drugs, but when I was in building 2 originally, I mean, there are a lot of big drug dealers, and they were all my friends because we played football together. I mean, I ran the gym; they were all in my gym. So maybe through my association, through them, they might have thought I was also involved.
And in solitary confinement for 6 months, I mean, what was your that cell like? I mean,
the cell wasn't too bad. It was maybe the length of my arms, and maybe 3 meters in length. The width was about the length of my arms. And actually, I started to understand that God was preparing me for my freedom, because I'd gone from a position of power to being a guest, and then actually to when I was in solitary, I was at the lowest I could be. But I managed to have my tefillin with me, so I got even closer to God. I prayed 3 times a day. So it was a very spiritual experience, and understood that God was preparing me.
And how long after the solitary confinement were you released?
Well, I got out of solitary after 6 months, I was released, I think, November the 6th. And in December, we got the amnesty on the 5th of December. And I was released on the 22nd of April this year.
That is amazing that you went from that position of power to the solitary confinement, right down to nothing.
Yeah.
Right,
so
everything taken away.
It was a humbling
to
experience.
Come back to this. And when you talk about solitary confinement, Shani, I mean, when you eat, are you eating on your own? Are you on your own all the time?
Well, the thing is, some of the guys are locked 24 hours. Because I wasn't officially charged with anything, during the day we were allowed out of our cells, but we still remained in a corridor. There were about 4 or 5 of us. Some of the guys had actually been there like 2 years already, so we were still allowed to walk in the corridor, but there was a huge security gate which we weren't allowed out. So we did have contact with other prisoners. I also managed to organize a TV. I had a fan, so it wasn't really that bad, you know.
And so you returned.
Yeah.
And once you had been told, when you heard the news that you were returning home?
Yeah. Well, I officially found out my release date at the end of January. So my release date was the 22nd of April.
Oh, those painful few weeks.
So from there, I mean, I must be honest with you, the time really flew. I mean, every day I was just conjuring all these images of what South Africans were going to be like, what my freedom will be like. I was reliving moments that I was hoping to experience. But I mean, everything I imagined it to be, it's been so much more.
Did you have an idea of what South Africa would be like? I mean, as we said, you left before the first democratic election, and to return to a South Africa, a democratic South Africa, 18 years into the democracy. How was that for you?
I mean, over the years, I've been corresponding with people all over the world. Some of my friends had immigrated as far back as the 70s and the 80s. A lot of them have returned over the years, and they've told me South Africa's beautiful. But I mean, everything I heard, nothing could have prepared me for the surprise I was in. I'm just totally overwhelmed.
Does it feel surreal? Does it feel real?
Well, I tell you, I've been here 3 weeks, but it's still like it's like a dream.
And your art, I mean, you produced these beautiful artworks while you were imprisoned, and you're selling copies of them, not the originals. You're selling them, Shani?
No, I'm not selling the originals. The originals I want to keep as part of a collection. All the pieces are sold in prison. I do have a website where I'm selling copies. The copies are actually quite nice.
And what are you up to? I can only presume you're going to be going out there and talking about your experiences.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I have been going to NA meetings, sharing my experience, bringing great awareness about the consequences of drug trafficking and drug abuse. I've been invited to schools. I'm planning to bring out my own brand of clothing, with which a proportion will be donated to drug foundations. Basically, I'm just trying to make a difference, and hoping to, by speaking to the youth of today, that they'd be deterred from using drugs, and also hoping to educate parents, because I think we've got to get to the grassroots, because the war on drug hasn't been won. I think since I've been gone,
not even close.
No, it's kind of got worse. So
you're adopting this way of communicating using social networking. I mean, I see you on Facebook, I see you on Twitter. Just the other day, you sent out a message talking about Shabbat and just how special it is, and just how grateful you are. And you're out there and you're Facebooking and you're tweeting. What is this new technology? I mean, I've grown with the technology and I find it overwhelming. What has it been like coming into this world?
It's phenomenal, you know. I'm not that good yet, but I mean, I'm trying to learn. I'm doing mostly on my iPhone. And my nephew Darren Sachs, I mean, he's a computer whiz, and I mean, he's been a tremendous help. I'm just sit there in awe when I watch him playing on the computer. So I'm not multitasking yet, but I'll get there. And he's tutoring me, so it's quite a cool experience.
I know a strange question. Is there anything you're missing about prison?
I must be honest with you. I do miss the comradeship. I've got some amazing friends. There's a Jewish guy there. He's an Israeli-Russian guy. He was like a brother to me, and we stayed together. I know he's suffering, so that pains me.
Shani, are you going to go back?
No, I'm not allowed back. I've been banned for life.
Okay. Shani, I know this has been very hard at times during this interview, because as we talk about things, so it connects with something that is very deeply emotional for you. So
That's right.
I thank you for coming onto the radio, for sharing your story with all of us.
Thank you for having me.
And for having such a strong message. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Alexander Shani Krebs on 101.9 Chaifm.